Training camp week 2 is now underway at Ohio State, and it was a wonderful first 4 days to be back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and I cannot wait to talk about it at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint, and this is a fun, casual conversation with Justin Zwick down there, Bobby Carpenter right over here, and the newest, most intrepid reporter on the Ohio State beat, Nicole Cox.
Hi.
I'm just Austin Ward. Nicole was out there all Friday, and the notebook is full. So let's dive right into it.
How was it? Did you get in okay? They didn't give you any hassle.
Well, she's the most popular person.
I know, but she was worried about that.
I was worried, and then I wasn't, and it worked out great.
Well, I said, "Hey, Nicole," and you just walked on in.
They were so sweet. They were so sweet.
And then 15 feet, every 15 feet, there was someone who was like, "Nicole Cox is here."
Yeah. I like to talk. I talk for a living, you guys. I talk for a living to people, but it was neat to see it because I didn't get to go to last year's practice and to see. I love what they're doing, and what a great way to raise money for NIL, because now you're having to look at all these different outlets because, donors that contribute to the university and to the Excellence Fund and all the other athletics, like those people still need to donate to those things as well. So it's nice that we're finding new avenues for NIL, which was very neat. And it looked like there were some very excited kids and families there. And of course, the first thing I have to talk about is what a great job the players did walking over to the fence after practice and kind of signing autographs and making those kids literally their entire lives. Like they'll remember that forever. And those little moments, even though you're tired, even though you have a million things to do, like the players' schedules are so crazy just with the amount of pressure that's on them, and to take the time to do that. Yep. I love it. I
think that's pretty cool they do that. I mean, that's one thing I feel like you don't ever get is like, hey, come watch our practice, right? I mean, Tress would let the guys in for 10 minutes, I think, while we stretched, and then, hey, you're out of here. Nobody.
Get out of here.
So, I mean, it's a really cool idea of Ohio State of Ryan Day to say, hey, listen, maybe it's the beginning of camp, so it's not going to be a bunch of stuff, but it's still pretty cool for people to be able to come out and check the players out and get up close and personal with them. And they're at the Woody anyways for the next 3 or 4 weeks, so they got nowhere to go. Might as well stop and sign some autographs, and it sounds like they're doing a great job. And
that's the piece. Like I think the one thing that NIL has done is kind of humanize the players a lot more. There's far more access. And, there's a benefit to being active and involved in the community, but it gets, I think, a chance for everybody to see who these guys really are. And they're really a good group of young men. And every day they're over there signing, and Ryan talks to them about it. And that's one of the things in the NFL that coaches like, hey, you were that kid once. Go be a little kid's hero today. And so with all of that there, those guys were able to do it after a hard practice. It's hot. You want to get inside. You want to do it. Just go take 15, 20 minutes, and it will make their day. So they were very excited about that. What day did you head out, Nicole?
Friday.
Okay, I did. Mm-hmm. I saw you. Okay. I wasn't out there on the weekend. And
you didn't say hi, but that's okay. It's okay.
I'm sorry.
He is also the most popular. He's the mayor of
He's like, I saw you. Well, you didn't say hi.
It was the day after my birthday. I was tired. It was a long day, long night, and I was getting ready to drive down to Portsmouth. There was a lot of stuff going on, so I apologize. Well, actually,
Bobby,
I ducked out. I came back and got my son. That's what it was. So I had my two of my boys there with me on Friday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so just give them a little taste because they've got stuff starting up and they'll be in school. But hey, just go enjoy it like everybody else. And they had a blast, had a good time, got to watch some things, learn a little ball, and really enjoy it. And then the best news today is I saw the Roosters truck pulling up for some catering. That's going to be over at the Woody. Yeah, Justin's sad. Yeah. Very sad.
Even my mom today goes,
just stacks of chips over there?
I had my niece in town, and she's like, well, maybe you can get some chips. And I was like, Mom, it's too early in the morning. Mom stuck me this morning. I'm like,
now we're disappointing moms.
Come on.
I mean, it's 100 pans of chips.
Wow. I'm going to steal that truck.
10,000 potatoes.
Chicken. Just give me the potatoes.
They're doing a huge order over there today, which is so nice of them to ask us to do it. It's the whole team.
That's ridiculous.
12 to noon, players
I'll never forget
Roosters.
one of our first catering orders. We went to meet the guys. They were volunteering. They were like cleaning up trash on campus. It was really cool that they did that as a team.
Our teammates used to do that, but it was usually court assigned.
Okay. Well, this was not. This was a team activity, and we were feeding them lunch, and it was like one of our first times, and it was the O linemen. So we bring food like
for normally.
And
20 people? Okay.
And then it's like, I was like, I'll run to German Village and get more. I'll get a lot more.
I'm going to need basically twice of what we've
got. One hot dog and 5 boneless is not going to cut it.
Nope. That's what I've talked to Eric when I've got catering before. I'm like, how was this allotted? What is like this portion size per human? Because depending on like the mix of people that are going to be there and the size, you need to know their level of consumption and what that expectation is going to be.
That's always the highest level. I'm like, okay, so what are we thinking here? Is it as much as the O lineman would be? That's like our max.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't that's just like project it. Assume that they're all offensive line.
That's like 2.5 orders a person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's realistic. Like, 100%. We average 6 wings of okay, we'll make it 18.
And they need to eat that much. I mean, there's like, it's so interesting how you're like, wait, we need to plan for that. Yeah.
Hey, they had the board up today. The light in the tail guys, if you will.
Ooh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. You weigh in, weigh out. Hey, come on in. You got to weigh in. Let's eat. I mean, think of it, Nicole, is if your punishment was you had to eat more food.
Oh, but
I mean, that would be amazing. I get on the scale backwards. I don't want to see what it looks like.
When I lived with a guy who had to eat. So, I mean, Doug had to put weight on, and it was extra work. I mean, he would just be sitting there miserable, so cool. And he's just like stuffing his face, and it's just like,
I'll tell you this. It's much easier not to eat than it is to just eat all the time.
Just eat all the time when you're not hungry and just stuff it down.
You say that. The last thing you want to do sometimes is jam like one more piece of
foot long down here.
And you're like, I know if I don't eat this, I'm going to like underweigh by 3 or 4 pounds tomorrow, and the coaches are going to be on me.
And then the NFL, they'll fine you for that, right?
Yes, you have like your window, and you have to hit it. Here it's just a point system where you get penalized.
Yeah, fair
well,
enough.
They're going to take care of that. There's going to be plenty of Roosters available.
That there will be.
And it is hotel check-in day.
If you stand outside, Justin, with like a plastic bag, you might be able to get the guys.
I'm just going to take like a book bag and make it look like I'm in camp.
I think that'd be good.
Just be angry and look down at the floor and just walk in.
I'm going to leave you all the wings. I just want the chips.
Yeah, you can have the wings.
All right.
Give me those.
But maybe if you just have some cheesy bacon fries, you'll be fine.
That's a good number 2 right there.
Yeah, the cheesy bacon fries, they're going to be pretty solid, and they're going to be $3 all day long for appetizer. Tuesday, which is
Let's
Tuesday.
go.
That's tomorrow. Today's Monday. It is the day off.
They're not here yet, Bobs. They'll be here soon. They'll be here. I almost texted you that, and I forgot to text you that. They'll be here in like 2 weeks.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. The QR code for the Buckeye giveaway.
Well, I mean, I keep championing it tomorrow. We're going to champion it on the fan, and I just need to make
sweet. No napkins yet. No napkins yet, but just our website.
That giant sign
to-go order last
that I can put in the background again.
Oh, I'll give it to you. Okay, I've got an extra one. I'll bring it next week.
When's the first drawing?
September 2nd.
Okay.
So we have prizes. That drawing is giving away a trip for 2 to the Oregon game and other prizes too. I think we have the coaches show in there. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you're not an immediate family member.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a hard time though because I did get an accurate count after day 1.
Well.
And it wasn't 3 million.
No, it wasn't. But it was 3,000.
The number 3 was involved.
Hey, okay.
So I guess scan the QR code or come to Roosters or go to roosterswings.com. And make sure you register.
Thank you to everybody who's been registering. I mean, my face lit up when I pulled those numbers. I was like, I just want to see how many people have registered so far.
I want to see if it is 3 million.
And I was like 3,000 in 3 days. So thank you to everybody who's registering.
We're on the road to 3 million.
We're on the road.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So day off for the Buckeyes. 4 straight days to get ready. Acclimation period. Then add some spiders, shoulder pads. Start thudding up a little bit. Now things get real. Starting Tuesday, maybe a scrimmage by the end of the week, Bob. Things that you've seen and heard through 4 days. What stood out for you, Bob?
Well, the receivers making some great catches, like all those guys. Jaden Ballard had a really nice one. I saw that on social media. It's amazing. I don't know if I was talking with Schlegs on Thursday to President Carter, and we look over in between the fields, and you see a ball come out. It's a little high, a little underthrown. It's being thrown to Jeremiah Smith, and I'm like, I feel bad for that poor DB right here. It
doesn't matter where it's
this is about to be.
Honestly, it looks worse when it's underthrown and back because then it's just a straight up jump ball. I'm going to tear this away from you and then run down the field. Like if I was the DB, I wouldn't even try to play the ball. I would just wait for him to catch it and tackle him at that point. Don't let him catch it. Just don't let it be a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'll give up 35. I don't need it to be 60. So. The receivers have been doing that stuff. It's been interesting watching how James has been rolling the linebackers through. I think that's one of the position groups where there's still a lot of ambiguity. Cody's going to be out there, but how does Sonny fit in? How does C.J. Hicks fit in? They're trying to get Gabe Powers.
I was going to ask you about Gabe. I've heard some good things throughout the summer.
All the guys have done some good different things well. And they've got, they're going to run a lot of 2 linebackers, but I think they'll do some 3 linebacker stuff as well. And so it's just a function of, hey, who can handle the mental capacity of learning multiple positions to be able to get out there. And so it's been fun to watch, but it's hard when you can't truly run the ball now you're going to get a chance to see it. They're off today, but Tuesday they'll be back in the mix.
Nicole, what'd you see?
Well, I was so excited to be there, and my heartstrings were really going for some of those walk-ons. I was really impressed with a few of them, which I'm not saying, I mean, obviously they should be good if they got to walk on, but I thought I really liked Patrick Gerd. Mm-hmm. I thought he just had some great agility for his size. And who else was I looking at?
Is he tight end or fullback?
Tight end.
Tight end, right? Okay.
Oh, and David Adolph. He was also, it was just impressive. It was impressive to see these guys that you don't see all the time. And then I saw this guy run, catch the ball. Incredible. Of course, it was Travion. Still look, just.
Well, he's not a walk-on, Nicole.
No, he's not. He's not. But just to it's like just a little reminder, oh yeah, I'm back and I am super fast, and he looked great. And so he's just keeping up at his best, and I love it.
That was a fun one because it was one of the better throws Will Howard had in that Friday practice. Like wheel route, good coverage, dropped it in the bucket for Travion. So that's, I think all 5 quarterbacks, Jay-Z, have had some moments where you look and you're really impressed and you say, well, that's why that's an Ohio State scholarship quarterback. I don't know. That's up to Ryan Day and Chip Kelly to figure out when they're going to pare down the reps. That hasn't happened yet. There's been a lot of rotation. Does feel like there's probably 3 out of those 5 that are more seriously in contention. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Bob would agree with this or not, but it does feel like an inevitability that Will Howard will be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I think we've all somewhat had that feeling just because the guys played. We know kind of what we're getting. We have film on him, at other schools of, being that leader and winning big games. It's just tough. You get into the first few days of camp. Everybody's getting reacclimated to being out on the field and practicing and whatnot. So you give those guys their option, your chances to get with the ones and just mix them up. I think, we talked about it last week, Tuesday. Tomorrow might be the day where he says, all right, we're going to start nailing this down a little bit. When I start hearing, so-and-so's running with the ones, I'm like, gosh, over the weekend, I'm like, just let Will Howard have every single one snap. And let's not mix up our offensive lines. Let's just dial this all in and just let those guys get all those reps together. That makes the most sense.
No split squad, Bob.
Yeah,
well,
he's not a
I'm sure they will, but I feel like if you have your offensive line solidified and then yeah, split them up and go do whatever you got to do.
I just like hearing other people say it, so that I'm not the only one.
Well,
I see both sides.
It's my great frustration.
I can understand maybe why they do it, but I also think the continuity of an offensive line is humongous, and you got to practice together, and you got to play together, and you got to be in those situations against the one defensive line where, man, we may get beat, but at least we knew what we were supposed to be doing. We knew where, and we trusted each other. That there's a lot that goes into it. I don't like them splitting those guys up when we don't know who our right guard is going to be.
I don't mind the split practices. I would prefer to keep position groups together.
Fair.
When you're able to do that, especially offensive line, you go 1 here, 2 there. You want to flop quarterbacks back and forth. You can keep your receivers largely intact, 1s, 2s, maybe roll those guys, and you can have some mixing back and forth. I think on the defensive side, especially there, you can really blend guys because you're going to rotate more, so it's important.
And
to have
that's
guys.
where they didn't. That's what really made me feel like I was taking some crazy pills. Like the whole one defense was together against like a Frankenstein's offense.
Yeah,
I don't understand that part, I guess.
And I don't know. They have to be in the meetings to try to understand what they're going to do, and maybe they'll do more of it this week in a different manner. But we'll kind of see how all that breaks.
Yeah, and I understand that it's a very probably insignificant thing to worry about because they're going to stop doing it, and they have, like Ryan Day saying on Thursday after practice, like, well, we have 25 more of these, and like. Josh.
And they're going to get more intense. They're going to be padded. It's just going to be different than the first 4, 3 or 4.
I like getting more reps for the players. Like, you don't want to stand there for 10 minutes, 15 in between. I'd rather be like, hey, I'm up for 5, down for 5. Like, and you're rolling back and forth and getting more action.
I get it. I understand the fully. And I asked Ryan Day when he was in here with us at Roosters, like, are you going to continue doing that? And like, I've been critical because it's what I see and it's what I don't understand. Like, you could still rotate all those people without having to have a third string tackle on the other side of the line.
Yeah, you're still going to have 2 lines going on both fields, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need – I think it's always important to have like against like so you don't have those asymmetric mismatches that nobody's getting anything out of.
That's the part that gets me because that did happen again on Thursday and Friday where it's like Jack Sawyer against a reserve offensive tackle who I won't name. It's an unfair matchup, and Will Howard just has to slide right to the ground because the play is over before it even starts. Again, does that actually matter for August 31st? No, probably not. Should I relax every once in a while? Probably so. I want to, when I'm out there, I'd like to maximize my time, and I think the fans would want to see that too.
But does that help the third string athlete?
I think if it's closer, you can get that work. But if there's like a big gap, then
they need to take a few more steps before they get to that.
Before that ball snaps, you're in. Jack knows I'm about to destroy.
And that guy knows, like, I can't stop him. There's a. It's like I would equate it to minor league baseball. I mean, there's like levels that you go through where there's times where there's not a discernible difference between really a backup and a starter, and then hey, you can roll those guys through and put them in there. And there's times, especially offensive line, because those guys are really young and there's not the physical. They need to grow. They're not like physically strong enough yet to be able to handle it. So there's that element of it.
All right, Nicole, anything else stood out to you?
Well, we already talked about Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he's just
pretty good.
He's incredible. So that was really neat to see. But it was I enjoyed seeing practice. I enjoyed seeing people that we don't get to see on the field, and just to know, like, me and my backup plans. If somebody goes down, here are our options. And so it's nice to know we've got a great set of options. But it was great out there.
They have a lot of those. Jalen McClain at safety, I think that was a position where we went into training camp and it was like, yeah, what you have with Caleb Downs and Lathan Ransom, but what happens then? Malik Hartford's coming back from injury. That's a spot. Maybe there's not a lot of depth. And then during that Friday practice, Jalen McClain breaks up 3 passes, and it's like, okay, I think they'll be all right.
They had good young players, like talented. You were just questioning, like, would they be able to step in and do it? And those guys looked good in the spring. Like, they started growing a lot. It was just, would they be ready in time?
Learning what they need to know.
Yeah. And it's still early in camp. Yeah. Like, so you're seeing basic stuff on 100%. Offense and you're running basic stuff on defense. Give them, another week when you've installed 70% of it, and make sure those guys aren't screwing, because the physical ability is there. It's just a function of, are you going to screw stuff up? Will you be?
Are you seeing things correctly? Are you putting people in the right spots? Are you doing the right thing? That safety position. That's why a veteran guy back there, like a Caleb Downs, all you hear about is how brilliant he is football wise. Like, he is studying. He knows exactly. You need your backup to be that same way. Because you need to know when you put them in there. They're going to have everybody in the right spot.
Well, they've got a few more weeks to get in the right spots before the opener, and the next phase of camp is putting on those pads. After hotel check-in, the Buckeyes will do just that. On Tuesday, we're going to take a break in here at Roosters, which is a fun casual joint. We've got a special guest joining us to talk about a new book and maybe what's happening in his career after leaving Ohio State. That's Johnny Dixon, and that is next at Roosters. Fun casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into Roosters. We have something very special this week. There is a new book coming out. You may know this man right here. He's been on the program before. He's scored a few touchdowns in the horseshoes, Johnny Dixon. You may not know his co-author right here, Johnny Dawson. I'm just meeting him.
Yeah.
How did you two come together? What was the idea here for this book?
Yeah, we came together through mutual friends of ours. As he was getting ready to go into the draft, I was introduced. We had a dinner with our families and kind of hit it off from there. Obviously, both being named Johnny, we had some connection there, right? We talked about me being named with a Y, M-I-E, and our initials are the same. Come to find out, our both of our moms have the same maiden name, so kind of just a connection that we had from our families from there, and started talking about our upbringings and our lives and kind of how there was some overlap there, even though we were, obviously from very different parts of the country. And that's kind of how the book came to birth.
Johnny, when you guys kicked around the idea, I don't know, had you ever thought about writing a book or telling your story that way?
Well, when I was playing with Ohio State, Coach Meyer used to always tell me, you need to put your life and just your whole story and, your playing time in a book. So, it was an awesome experience to actually do this and just talk about that experience, growing up and, where life's headed now. So, yeah, it's been amazing.
Where are you from originally, Johnny?
So I was born in Columbus, but I was raised in Butcher Holler, Kentucky, which is where Loretta Lynn's from.
Okay.
So if you've ever seen Coal Miner's Daughter, that's exactly where I'm from. So is basically a dirt
Are you saying
road.
that's different than South Florida?
A little bit, a little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Interesting.
How so for people who don't understand what you guys were trying to work on here, Johnny, what's the crux? What were you guys hoping to accomplish here?
That, there can be drastic atmospheres and upbringings from people all over the nation. And, when it comes to mental health, we wanted to demonstrate me being in Iraq through combat with the Marine Corps back in some pretty turbulent times from 03 to 07, Battle of Fallujah in 04. My suffering from PTSD really affected my mental health and who I was as an adult. And watching Johnny play, because I went to Ohio State after the Marine Corps, and just seeing his injuries, what he went through, I kind of sustained something similar in the Marine Corps with some injuries and went back to Iraq afterwards and things of that nature. And watching him overcome that inspired me to obviously have a conversation with him. But the more we found out, there's a lot of parallels with mental health with professional athletes and military guys. And if we can be vulnerable enough in our conversations to maybe help those that are transitioning from the military or transitioning from athletics and put that in writing, at the end of the day, that's what pulls on my heartstrings and Johnny's as well. Quite frankly, I got tired of losing guys that I served with to suicide, and that's what inspired me to kind of create the story and write the book, was going to funerals all over the country of guys that we had lost because they didn't need to die. And that's what we're trying to help prevent, is maybe save one veteran or one athlete from going down that road.
I don't think a lot of people understand or correlate athletes with military veterans, but there is a high number of former athletes who go through that same exact thing. I mean, for young guys, especially like Johnny, his story is a little different. Obviously, the injuries that he went through are well documented around Columbus, and everyone knows how much you had to persevere through to get to that year in 2018, that fifth year. But there's a lot of former athletes that once they're done playing can't come back to, being a normal citizen.
Right.
It's hard. And what is it, for you, Johnny, like transitioning into life as, a father and having children and now you're coaching a high school, helping coach high school football out in Arizona. Like, what did you take from this experience that like you can tell Court Williams, for example, who just had to announce his medical retirement from football last week? Like, how can you take those stories and help guys? I mean, is it something where it's just here's the book, or are you reaching out to guys personally, or how do you handle that?
Well, I think for me, you can go in the book and you can see the stories of the career and how it was and how I had to overcome a lot of stuff to get to where I eventually got to. But yeah, it's about being able to reach out to them as well, and that means a lot to people when they're going through stuff. Like, I just know when I was going through it, if nobody reached out to me, I was probably still been struggling and never got to that point of trying to overcome it. I probably would have just stayed in the little groove of being comfortable, just not being a nobody, you know what I'm saying? So for me, I think it's about people reaching out and also just getting in the book and just reading the story. Maybe everybody doesn't like to talk to people about, the things they're going through. So being able to just read a little bit about it and, identifying things within yourself that you may be going through, something in the book might be able to grab you and help you, just fight through those situations.
Johnny, was it, what was the challenge of trying to structure a book like this for you guys? The stories are on some ways parallel, in some ways very different.
Right. Honestly, it was pretty challenging, and I think we had a vision of how we wanted it to be, and that changed a lot because we've been writing this for 2 years. I mean, this has been a very long process, and I think the challenge was trying to create symmetry between our lives of not only when we were children, but how did that progress through the military, through being an athlete, and that's why the cover looks the way it does. Is in Kentucky, where I'm from, like, your only way out of that generational curse of poverty and just being stuck there was join the military. That's your only way truly out. And talking with Johnny, sometimes being inner city Florida, your only way out is being very, very good at football or being an athlete in general. And when you get siloed and this is your only way out, and you go through that and persevere, it's going to affect your mental health one way or another. And be able to share kind of some similarities of how those stories cross over and some parallel, but also kind of bringing it together. And because on paper, like if you were to write out my life, his life, you would probably look at that and say, well, these two will never meet. They'll never be friends. They'll never have a conversation.
Sure.
Right. And the premise of this whole idea was, in this country right now, if us two can figure that out, have some pretty vulnerable conversations, why do we struggle as a nation to do the same thing?
Right.
And if we can put that out in the medias like this, then maybe someone will read it that will change their perspective and change how they act and maybe their own mental health, which is the goal.
I'm about halfway through the book. It's been a really great read. I mean, it's sometimes I'm normally a fiction guy, so
Right.
it's.
You don't even read books. When was the last time?
All day.
Yeah, this guy is. I guarantee you, I've read more books than you in the last 5 years, 1 year, 1 month.
Sorry to
1
distract.
week.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Do you see what I have to deal with?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about perseverance, I have to persevere through this crap.
Yeah.
See, we all have our own battles to fight.
That's
is what
right.
you're saying.
That's right.
Mine is Austin.
Yeah.
You're a true soldier.
Let me turn the subject here. You're coaching now, as I said.
Yep.
Are you more Urban Meyer as a coach, or are you more, your coach, whose name I believe was Jack Daniels, which is true.
Yeah.
But who are you pulling inspiration from now that you are being tasked with making sure that young people are prepared mentally for life?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit mix of both in certain situations,
Not kicking anybody.
But no, I'm just trying to tell the guys, like, I've been through so much within the sport of football that I know maybe what you might be going through. So just be willing to listen to, what I have to tell you. And nowadays, everything's a big joke, but it just continue to try to get through that brain. But I also think I'm a little bit of heartline because I like to get on the field and show them. You know what I'm saying? So I think I pull from all of those guys because I've had so many great coaches throughout my career that it allows me to pick things from each one of them, even Coach, Mick and things like that. So, no, I think I'm a mix of them all.
How cool is it for you when you see someone get it?
Oh, I love it. Because a long time for me, I could not get it.
Yeah.
Like, I used to walk down the hallway, Coach Meyer would see me and be like, how are you doing? I'd be like, I'm good. He'd be like, I can't wait for the day you say that you're great. So my last 2 years, it felt great to be able to just tell him, Coach, I'm doing great now. So when people get it, man, it's just I jump up and I shout because I'm so excited and happy that they understand what I'm telling them. I've been through it. I've seen it all. So, I mean, it's awesome when the kids get it. They understand it. Now they can relay it to the next guy as well.
Johnny, you were at practice at least once. I saw you there last week. To get back in the Woody and see what Zone 6 is doing now, we have to get your thoughts on that group before you go about your day.
Dude, it's amazing. I got a chance to talk to him after practice a few days ago, and just to hear Hart say that, guys like Terry Paris and myself was able to propel it to a level. Now these guys are just, they're continuing to enhance it. So, I mean, it's awesome to see it, dude. Just being able to be part of Zone 6 and watch it just continue to grow. And even the dudes we sent to the league, man, like, I'm such a fan of all those dudes. So it's been amazing. Now we got JJ, you got Brandon, we got my Florida boys in there. So I'm happy. I'm excited about that.
I know that's what you're looking forward to.
You know it.
You guys aren't a part of – you guys built the room. You can say it. Like, your class.
They prefer it when we say it.
I know, but it's true. I mean, it was the 2014 class and a little bit of the 2013 class that started this entire thing that Ohio State has going on at wide receiver. So take some credit for it.
It is. Maybe he does that in the book.
Do you get to Ohio State? Are you?
Yeah.
What's the best Ohio State memory you have? Like going to a game, or we're gonna just turn it away from that a little bit. Like what?
Honestly, I think it was their run with the team up north. Just there any fan that you ran into for several years couldn't say a word to you about anything, and I absolutely love that. We have 4 boys, and our one of our middle plays hockey, and we play a lot up there. And every time I go up there, I wear all Ohio State gear just because. And that was my favorite time. I would say also when we played Sugar Bowl down in New Orleans, that was a game I went to when I was there.
98.
Yeah, it was a blast
Against Florida State. Or A&M, sorry.
Yeah, so that was a ton of fun. But yeah, just having that ability to say we're whipping somebody over and over again, and they did that for us, so that was awesome.
That's why I live in Michigan, but I tell people I live north of Toledo because I don't want to even acknowledge.
I heard you say that earlier, and I didn't even want to bring it up because I'm like, there's only one place north of Toledo, and that's the border.
He's literally 1 mile over it.
So I know they notice your face too out there, so I can imagine that.
That's pretty annoying.
Guys, where can they get the book?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon, big on Amazon right now, Barnes & Noble. We have a website. It's just Johnny with the Y-I-E, so johnny.com. But yeah, it's on every main outlet that you could buy a book at. It's there. So
it's very cool. JD, it's great to have you catch up, and
Thanks for
this
having me.
is an awesome project here. I mean, it's cool to see.
Absolutely.
Feels crazy to me that you've been gone for 6 years.
Me? I'm about to be 30, man. I can't believe it.
Hey, that's nothing for you. You're doing great. It's good to see your family and everything. So
Absolutely.
appreciate both of you guys swinging by to bring the book, talk about the book and this journey, and go look for that anywhere books are sold.
And leave a review, please.
And a review. All right.
Please.
We're going to take another break. We're going to be right back here in Rooster. Thanks to these Johnnies for hanging out with us. We are back in the Horseshoe Lounge. Again, we're going to wrap it up here with it. There's so much going on in Ohio State's training camp, but there's more shenanigans, Bob, going on in Ann Arbor. Who could have ever guessed that keeping Sharon Moore around after the cheating scandal, before this had been adjudicated, how that might be a bad idea?
It was about minus 150,000. There was going to be text messages or the emails deleted off Sharon Moore's devices.
Yes.
I mean, that's a given because, I was doing a show today and the officer's like, hey, this is new information. I'm like, new information? Like, were we supposed to think that they weren't trying to cover this up? Like, they just basically denied it. It was tacit. Like, hey.
They fired a coach in a week before the Ohio State game.
We don't know what's going on here, but maybe. And then, the acknowledgement, that was Connor Stalions on the sideline. I'm like, by them not producing anyone else that it was, I think that was also a tacit endorsement that we acknowledge that that's who that was. So
it's weird they couldn't find a twin for him or a stunt double.
Well, they tried to point out, there's this guy, and no.
He's bald. Hair doesn't grow back.
Well, let's look at this guy, and there's that guy, but he's in this frame, and he's wearing something different. So he is on the sideline, and it was just whatever. I don't know what you do to punish this, though. Do you give a bowl ban on this, a postseason ban? I don't know if that because I hate being a hypocrite on why punish people who weren't there. Now,
but they were there.
Sharon Moore was there. There were a lot of guys there that were involved.
I think I understand the notion of punishing people who aren't there, but that's the only people that are there. So someone has to pay the piper.
But here's I think we get caught up in this. Oh, it's not fair to the current student athletes to be punished for something from the previous.
They capitalize on it.
Doesn't matter. That's why the NCAA lets them transfer, for one, and the punishment is for the program. And to me, the program unequivocally cheated.
Yeah.
So they have to pay the price. If some of the faces have changed, that's unfortunate for them, but that's why they're allowed to leave. Well,
that'll be the fine. That'll be it.
You know what annoys me the most about this, though, is the allegations and the notice of allegations. Obviously, again, common sense says that all those things were going to happen. We knew that. The coaching staff was aware. The fact that the NCAA is still so feckless that in these notice of allegations of the draft, they go and say, well, we can't find any evidence that the coaching staff was aware. Why do you think they deleted these messages?
Well, here's the thing. They said they found the 52 text messages.
Yeah, well, they had to go back and get it through a forensic tool. So the Michigan fan base, Sharon gave him the text. No, he didn't. They were deleted, and he gave them his phone to find them. But again, you fired Chris Partridge a week before the Ohio State game. All of these other coaches were gone.
Sharon was budget cutbacks.
I think we're not going to make it to December. We got
cleaned up before the end of the year.
It's so obvious that and anybody that has a total, any slice of objectivity in them is well aware of the fact that these coaches were 100%. Not even maybe they weren't the genesis of this idea. Maybe they weren't the people who were hey, I have a great idea. But they 1,000% knew, and they 1,000% benefited from it. And like, why are we still pretending? Well, we can't find evidence that they knew.
Well,
what about all the deleting stuff?
Yeah, then why were they
have
doing
the power to subpoena people to get it?
I know, it's so dumb.
It's not surprising they don't have the information, but I honestly don't think that matters. Michigan has already lost in the court of public opinion. I think enough is out there.
The inference is pretty strong that they know.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure, Bill, why it matters if they could prove if the coaches knew. Michigan was paying Connor Stallions, and he was breaking NCAA rules. So I don't even see how there can be a justification for Michigan to not be punished.
There's no way they couldn't have known because if you're
Michigan knew because Connor Stallions was doing it.
Yes. So if you're but what he was doing would take a large deal of time. So
and effort
and
money.
So either A, he somehow is able to work like 95 hours a week.
Because he still had to sell vacuums.
And do his normal job in addition to whatever layer this was. Like, he's basically Terminator. He just never sleeps. He was able to be active 100 hours a week.
He had the third job, too, with Blake Corum, whatever that was.
Yeah,
the third business. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they were together doing
B2C LLC or whatever.
Yeah. That's good. You know?
It's wild. What am I missing in that, Bill?
I don't know that you're missing any. I just think that the hard part is for the NCAA to define the total scope of it, right? Like, clearly it happened. To what extent and how do you quantify the advantage that it gave them? I think that becomes a little more difficult, which is why I think the punishment might not be as severe as people want it to be. I think they're pretty clearly going to get punished. They should be punished. What that looks like, bowl bans, scholarship reductions, I'm sure Sharon Moore will get suspended for some length of time. I just don't think
he cry at his own suspension.
Yeah, he's going to come back and cry after he gets suspended. I just don't think like there is I think if you were able to define the full scope of it, it would mean like the death of the Michigan football program. But you can't do that, so that's not going to be the result of this.
That the only way you can, again, requires logic, and it's not something you are able to find evidence for. But Jim Harbaugh's record prior to 2021 and his record after 2021 is a pretty good quantifier. When
there are context clues.
When you were winning 52% of your games before that, and then afterwards you win 98% of your games, there was something that happened. And yes, they got better players. That's a part of it. But they also
it's called culture and buy-in, Berm.
They were old. They were experienced in the scheme.
Yeah, I mean.
And by scheme,
other people's schemes.
So we're to assume that Connor Stallions gave the Ohio State play sheet or signal sheet to a player, which is one of, and nobody else, and that was the only player that knew.
Yeah,
I mean,
he wanted to be greedy and make all the plays himself.
The guy takes hard drives out of the office for just no reason.
Computer crimes now.
I mean,
they also like have all the laminated sheets with everyone's play calls, and he's walking over to Sharon Moore during the game, like it's all.
Yeah, he's in their ear.
It's caught in 4K. Like I don't. It's the.
So what do you think the punishment should be, Boom? I want to hear all you guys. I'm just curious.
Any punishment that does not include vacation of wins is.
But who cares? The games happen.
I know, but they still should.
But it needs to be reflected in the record.
It needs to be reflected in the record book.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's like nothing.
Maybe give it. Let's do it the other way. Let's not vacate the wins. Let's make them forfeit losses. Okay, so that has to. One of those things has to happen. Those games cannot count. So I don't care. I understand your point. It doesn't matter. Everyone saw them. The games happened. But the point remains. There has to be some acknowledgement of it in the books.
Yeah.
I would think that any coach that was involved, and that includes Sharon Moore, should be suspended for a significant portion of time, if not outright fired. And I don't know what else you can really do. I don't think this isn't a scholarship issue or anything like that. And then
it doesn't matter anymore.
Right, and then a postseason ban or something for 2 years probably is what I think should happen. But none of that probably will. We'll probably just have to pay a fine and then it'll be okay.
I don't know. A postseason ban could be on the table, I think. It's hard because like the NCAA and the playoff are separate entities.
Right. Which is why I think you can...
They said they would still acknowledge that, though.
Yeah, you can still consider their national championship and vacate the other wins. I don't think that's... I don't think those things are...
I don't disagree with the idea of like letting the record show that you cheated to gain this, but it's just like... did people pretend like Ohio State's games didn't happen when the NCAA told them, oh, those records don't count anymore? Like when I look at records for Ohio State, I was like, yeah, those games happen. Like,
yeah, but those 10 wins or 11 wins in 2010 are not included in the record books.
No, I know, but like to what end, right? It just feels like a toothless punishment. It doesn't actually.
But then you
doesn't do anything.
Then they can't have that stupid winningest thing on their freaking.
Yeah, but they still will.
That's not going to stop.
What I'm saying is they're not going to stop.
It'll have an asterisk.
It has to be more severe than that.
I'm a big fan of asterisks.
I don't think vacation, if anything, goes nearly far enough.
I'm a big fan of vacation in general.
I love vacation.
I think I'm not saying it's going far enough. I'm saying that has to be a part of the problem, a part of it. If that's all they do, that's not enough.
So you think postseason ban?
I think you have to have a postseason ban.
Like just Big Ten Conference or CFP as well?
I mean, again, those are different entities. I think that the Big Ten, they should not be eligible for postseason play.
I think you could see the Big Ten, because the Big Ten has done it before, right? Like kind of fall in lockstep with the NCAA and say, okay, you can't play in our conference championship game. I think that's on the table.
The Big Ten, I think, would have to be involved in this because of what you guys are saying. With the NCAA and the college football playoff still inexplicably being separate entities, the Big Ten is going to have to say, you cannot play or we're going to withhold television money. Like, that's how it has to work. Because I don't think
do you think there'll be a large push from the other – because this is what the question is. I don't think unless there's pressure from the other member schools that felt like they were wrong. Like, I remember Greg Schiano was fired up about that when you asked a lot of the funny business going on out there.
Yeah, Ryan Walters too, right? Was kind of out there.
There was a couple coaches, and like I don't think if there's pressure from other schools outside of Ohio State that anything significant will happen. But if that happens, then I think there's a chance of it.
James Franklin will be on board. He's in favor of anything that gives him an edge.
Yeah, he's got to have a little bit of an edge.
He won't play Michigan, though, for the next 10 years.
Anything that keeps
he's actually taking notes on how to best cover up things. I should have deleted those texts.
Anything to distract
assaults
from what James Franklin allows to happen at Penn State is good.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be pressure, though? Like, do you think other schools...
Well, there was pressure last year.
I think that there hasn't been for the last 9 months because I feel like they feel like they lost the war. That Michigan didn't get any actual in-season punishment beyond Jim Harbaugh's suspension in the year, and that's what they wanted. Maybe that will restart if there's more public information about the investigation or the draft is turned into Michigan and all the evidence becomes public. Like, maybe that would happen again, but I feel like they've almost at this point thrown up their hands, which is exactly what Michigan wants. When they say, well, you can't punish the next kids, like they weren't involved, or Jim Harbaugh's not here anymore, you can't continue to punish. Like, that's exactly what they want. That's why you cheat. There has to be repercussions.
That's why Jim Harbaugh left.
I think a postseason ban is the absolute bare minimum. And if a show cause comes along for Sherrone Moore...
What does that mean for him? Like, they have to prove that he should be their coach?
They have to justify to the NCAA why he should still be allowed to be their coach. And I would love to see what that evidence is. If he
show the Penn State interview,
because this thing is
how much he cares.
He does care. He's got great tear ducts. This is not a matter of like semantics and NIL and recruitment. This is a rule that is unmistakable about competitive integrity across the sport. Like there's not gray area here. There's just not.
I don't disagree with you. Is it good for the conference if the Michigan's given a 2-year bowl ban?
I don't care. I don't care about what's good for the conference.
I was just asking a question.
Why would it be bad?
I'm just one of the flagship programs at the top when you're trying to jockey for position in the college football hierarchy and you're there with the SEC, and maybe it doesn't matter.
It's 2024. A 2-year bowl ban means virtually nothing.
You have Oregon, too, to pick up the slack, I think.
In Rutgers.
It's not 1985 where, the program will die and wither on the vine. Like, they're going to be fine. But there has to be meaningful repercussions for what they did. Otherwise, why would you follow any rule? Ever.
Smokey, this isn't Nam. There are rules.
All right. I don't know what else there is to say about that. I guess we'll have to wait till the actual notice of allegations is received in Ann Arbor, which it will be surely soon, because that's
what does she have to do with any of it?
Don't worry about her. What, Bill, Berm, you guys saw some extra practices over the weekend.
Oh, they actually went? Yeah. Unlike Quitter Ward over here?
You weren't there?
I was getting drunk on a lake or river.
So was I.
Okay. Well, good. All you had to do is explain yourself.
You know how it works. Media wasn't supposed to be there on Saturday or Sunday. The rules were changed. I couldn't disappoint the family.
Oh wait, they changed. Oh, they double back on you.
Yeah.
And
I thought you guys snip snap situation.
I thought snip.
Yeah.
I thought you guys bought tickets and were paying patrons.
Oh no, there were other people on the beat who thought it was silly that they were being locked out, and they were going to pay for tickets. And Jerry said, "Nope, don't do that. Just come and don't do photo or video." Then he allowed that to happen on Saturday, but didn't have press conferences. So that wound up being the only thing that was saving for me. I can't miss a Ryan Day Chip Kelly press conference.
There weren't a lot. I think yesterday, Sunday, there were like 12 media people there. It wasn't the full team.
Sunday. You can't expect media contingent to work on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised they're out there on Saturday with Shabbos.
Well, were the practices on Saturday and Sunday different enough from Thursday or Friday to make it worth it?
Yeah,
pads on.
I thought so. They had pads on and they did full team stuff. They didn't. There was some split field, but it wasn't all split field. Yeah.
Ward's gone. Go combine the practice.
We've successfully chased him out of here. Now let's do some real stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking of you when they went to the full team 11.
That's so great. Yeah. I love the fact that when you weren't there, they decided to go back.
They were longer practices. They were
because they were in pads.
Full pads.
Yeah. Tell me,
shoulder pads anyway.
Tell me about this Will Howard 80-yard touchdown run that I heard so much about.
I left at that point. I was on my way
home.
Yeah, it was like I was there. Yeah, it was like a QB kind of like sweep with the running back leading for him, and like it was 80 yards away from us, like where the play started. So was there someone near him that might have been able to tag him down?
Were they practicing in the Fawcett parking lot there?
Yeah. They're running towards us.
They started at the shot.
I don't know. It was pretty impressive, man. Like Will can really go when he gets out.
He opens up. Like he's not. He has good short range quickness. I mean, he's not Braxton Miller, and he's not C.J. Stroud, but he might be a little bit of J.T. Barrett.
Yeah,
like a taller, bigger version.
I thought it was legit. Yeah,
he's like a combo of J.T. and Cardale for me.
Yeah. So it was cool to see, and also like 2 or 3 plays after that happened, like Devin Brown was like, "All right, I'm going to rip a 50-yard touchdown pass to show you the thing that I do best too." So it was kind of cool to see him going back and forth a little bit. But like Will's long touchdown run, I think I said this on the daily, was like a punctuation of a day where he was just kind of locked in the whole time. Like he didn't miss very many throws. It was a really good practice. And then on Sunday he comes out and gets like almost every first team rep. So like that didn't feel coincidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, Berm concurs.
No, I mean we said a lot this morning on the daily, but I'm just more and more inclined to believe that the quarterback decision will be made by this weekend without much of a doubt. And Ryan Day said he wants to do it 7 to 10 days. I think that Devin Brown has had what I saw a pretty good couple days.
I thought he's played well.
He has not been what I would consider like at his best. He has not been worse than Will Howard.
Yeah.
But his best is he's the consistency issues that plagued him last year are what continues to be an issue. And Bill talked about it on this morning's daily, but once you start getting into scrimmages, Devin Brown kind of shines in those moments. He's kind of a gamer. So I do wonder if you almost have to make a decision before those begin.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up putting yourself in a spot where you can convince yourself that this has to go longer than maybe you want it to.
Yeah, which is what happened last year. I think. Like, it doesn't really do anybody any
Thoughts
favors.
on Kienholz and Sayin? I thought Lincoln's played pretty well. He's missed some throws here and there, but I thought he's looked good and his reads have been accurate.
I think the difference is Lincoln Kienholz is a really good athlete playing quarterback. I mean, he's a good quarterback. It's not to suggest he doesn't deserve a spot on the roster. And then Julian Sayin is a guy who was just born to be a quarterback. And I think Lincoln Kienholz, growing up in Pierre, South Dakota, it's like, you're the best athlete, you're the quarterback. I don't know that, the learning curve for him is still underway as far as learning how to play at that level. So where Julian's saying it's just a very natural quarterback. And
I think you'd have to ask them to do different things as well.
And Lincoln, the best passer on the team.
Lincoln seems like
it's clear that he's the best passer.
Julian's saying clearly.
I mean, he looked good Thursday, Friday.
I was not there Sunday, but I heard he had a little bit of a down day on Sunday from Bill and from others that I read. So I think that's normal and probably what to expect. I can see a scenario where he is the number 2 quarterback for Ohio State at some point in this season. But I don't think that there's any real discussion or real opportunity for him to be the starter. This is not a 3-man battle to be the starter. It's a 2-man battle to be the starter, and then
or a 2-man battle to be the backup.
And a 2-man battle to be the backup.
Yeah, I think like right read. More often than not, maybe not always the best ball is probably a good way to describe Lincoln. He needs reps. Like he's a 3-sport athlete who's not focused on football that long. It's unfortunate though that he's just probably not going to get the reps that he needs in a 5-man.
That's why you do a split field.
That's right.
But he's still only.
But even then, he's on the 3-man field.
Lincoln's still only been on campus for a year.
Yeah.
He got into last June, so it's not a guy that has a whole bunch of time in the system. He did not take any meaningful reps as the number 1 quarterback last year.
He got that bowl game.
Well, I'm saying he didn't get any reps before that bowl game because nobody was expecting him to be the guy that was needed to play. So I don't. I said it the other day. I feel pretty bad for him, to be honest. I mean, but this is what happens at Ohio State. You go in, when that window opens, you better be able to strike, and he didn't, and so now his path to the field is significantly harder than he thought it would be on December 30th.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if Will Howard's the starter, that means there will be a new starter next year.
Sure.
And so you have another year then to prove that out. And like you said, he will probably improve the most out of everybody, given the limited reps he has had in his life. But like physically of all the guys, he looks the most impressive. When you watch him walk out there, you watch him run. He throws the ball, I think, maybe not as natural as Julian, but about as well as you're going to see it.
He's got just as much zip as Devin.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of tools.
He's got all the parts you need, but it's just a guy who has not really done it at that level.
Okay. Anybody in particular that you want to see on Thursday when we are all back at practice? Bill.
Tegra. I want to it seems like they're splitting up that right guard still a little bit. By Thursday, it should be fully padded. We're playing football practice, so I want to. Well, maybe not when we're in there. We'll see. In the past,
they'll be fully padded stretching.
It's
a maintenance day.
Yeah, so hopefully it's that.
Today's the maintenance day.
I want to see the offensive line generally kind of continue on what I thought was a really good first 4 days. But if I have to zero in on one guy, it would be Tegra, and whether or not he's actually surging to take that right guard job.
Yeah.
You think he gets it?
Yeah.
You think he beats out Hinsman?
I was very confident in that 3 days ago, and I'm less confident in it now. But Tegra is still my pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you next Monday.
Any day when Carson Hinsman is not practicing does help.
I felt
push
really
you
good about
direction.
it. Yeah.
My biggest thing, especially on Saturday, was that whenever the squad was split, the depth at linebacker is really not ideal. And we're watching Sam Williams-Dixon and James Peoples ripping runs off against the backup linebackers, and it was not generally when it was Gabe Powers. And I want to get a better idea of what Gabe Powers can be in the middle of the defense, because I think he's the natural fit to be the Mike next year.
Sounds like he's the number 2 Mike right now.
Yeah.
What Jim Knowles is
so
saying.
The depth at linebacker is if you're really nitpicking, where's the problems on this team, that is still it.
I think it's a little bit maybe like Lincoln Kienholz, where you have some good options, just some guys that are kind of raw, that haven't played.
Yeah.
Like Arvell Reese, I think, has a lot of ability, just hasn't played a lot of linebacker growing into his body. For me, I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with C.J. Hicks, because he's going to play a lot this year. They're going to need him to be a really good player this year. That is him being a highly talented guy who isn't productive cannot be an option anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I've watched him do some things in flash. He's gotten more consistent, but as the pads go on, just continuing. When it's him, Sonny, Cody, there should not be any drop between those guys. It should just be this guy does this a little better, he does that a little better. But the production and play level should all be the same.
It's not even that. Jim Knowles on Friday was talking about how they want to play 3 linebackers more. So,
those guys, if you have CJ and Sonny, you have some really athletic line. You haven't had that much athleticism at linebacker since Schlegels was out there. So, being flanked by 2 more athletic guys. But that's real. If you have those
a dude and 2 athletes?
Yeah, a dude and 2 athletes.
You can get to that point.
We'll see. But he's got to go prove it. They'll play him, as much as he can handle. Like, and that's the one thing with James. He's always, if you deserve to be on the field, you're getting on the field. You win more time.
Well, we'll see that on Thursday. We'll have more to break down next Monday when we get back in here at the Roosters on Henderson Road. You can come tomorrow to your local Roosters. What are those, Bob?
Those are cheesy bacon fries. They're curly fries, too.
Curly.
They're $3. You got a little pig on there, a little potato, and a little bit of the cheese, the cow,
dairy,
the bovine coming home for you with the dairy. $3 all day long. And don't forget to go to roosterswings.com or hit the QR code somewhere around here and register September 5th.
Maybe Bert
first
should just
drawing.
move it around the screen and trace our fingers. Let's see.
Like a screensaver bouncing around.
But thank you so much to Johnny Dixon and Johnny Dawson for coming in to talk about their book. Get that now. Thanks to Nicole Cox and Roosters for having us in here. Thanks to Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Bill Landis, and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. This has been the live show at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you next week.